again the Damon Floyd Coach Show here on Talk 101.3 The Buzz, where all of our coach shows are brought to you by Wholesale Supply Group, and also LB Appliance out there on Durkee Road. Josh Taylor and the guys, see them for all your appliance needs, repair, and parts and things of that nature. We're going to talk a little bit about our game we just completed last Friday night at Red Bank, and what was their homecoming, not homecoming, it was senior night for them. That's their last home game. And we look ahead at the Cleveland game, which always, a lot of people talking about that. But Coach, congratulations, another shutout win. That's the second of the year, and really, I count Hardin Valley almost as a shutout because we fumbled on our 6-yard line, give them their only score. Otherwise, we had three shutouts. But boy, our defense continues to play lights out, and it's not just one or two guys; it's everybody contributing on the line, the linebackers, the backs, and just playing really good for us.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is with our personnel. You know, we're able to play man coverage on the back end this year.
Yeah.
So we can really load the box in a lot of situations. But, you know, you got to give credit to those guys up front that really don't get a whole lot of credit sometimes, like Zane McIntosh. Of course, he's gotten some publicity because of his Players of the Week. Really played good. But Ben Collins at nose takes on a lot of double teams and tries to keep our linebackers free. You know, Rodney Williams didn't play this past week.
Right.
So he was out starting defensive end. Andrew Yannick went in. Daniel Helsden played a lot. And they really did a good job of doing their job and keeping some other guys on the second and third levels clean. And then, so missed a couple of tackles, but I thought overall, you know, defensively we were in the right spots for the most part. And, you know, Red Bank had something to do with those missed tackles too, because they have some talent. When some of those guys get the ball in their hands, they got talent too. So overall, I thought it was a really good team win. And, you know, it wasn't a region game. It was raining a little bit. Not sure how excited we were to be there at times, but good win.
Well, at Marsh Battle with 2 picks there, and he stopped 2 drives when they were trying to get down there and score it, and that didn't happen for them there. But he's played well all year long as well. As we mentioned all those backs. It's hard to pass against us. A lot of people don't want to try to pass against us because they know, you know, the odds of them completing a long pass is just not really good there. But we did lose that one fumble, and we had a pick. But another guy I want to brag on, we're going to talk to him later, is Skylar Perkle. You know, 5 for 5 again tonight. He's getting deeper and deeper on kickoffs. He had one into the end zone, and you've mentioned this over and over. That's a weapon in its own on special teams. If you can make them start at the 20, they don't get a chance to return it. So it's like nobody wants to kick to us, you know, our return guys. Right. I can say why, but it's a huge weapon. You have someone like Skylar can put that ball out there deep.
And I think if you look back at every game we played this year, I think we won the field position battle. You know, I think there may have been one, I'm thinking Farragut right off the top of my head, that it may have been about even, but every other game it's been a deciding factor on where we start versus where the opponent starts. So, and Skylar's got obviously a lot to do with that. Obviously his 5 extra points were big, but what I liked most about him last Friday was where he kicked off. Yeah. You know, we kind of moved it around him a little bit to work on some different things because of what's coming up. But anyway, he did a good job of placing it in certain spots. And then, you know, we actually had a 15-yard penalty one time. And when he kicked off, I think we pinned him around the 10-yard line. Yeah. And most of that was, we obviously had good coverage, but Skylar had a really good kick too. So, like I mentioned, this is a total team win. I think Skylar, our special teams, offense, defense, if you look back at film, it's hard to be too critical. I know, I will say on Caleb's interception, it really wasn't his fault. I know he threw it, but it's not always the quarterback's fault. And I actually overruled, I guess you could say, I called the play on it offensively, what I want to do on certain coverage. Well, Jarius was thinking one thing as a receiver. Caleb was thinking one thing as a quarterback, depending on the coverage. So they would line up, and then on the snap, they were moving a little bit. So Caleb's thinking Jarius is going to cut inside because of a too high look. Jarius kept it outside, which I told him to do. And so I really got to take the blame. If I'd have just let them play, it probably doesn't. We may not complete it, but it's probably not an interception. So long story short, just because a quarterback throws an interception, sometimes it's my fault. Yeah. And I take the blame on that one.
Well, the quarterback's the one who gets the stats.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like a kicker. Kicker gets it's either good or bad. It may not be a good snap. It could be timings off and things like that. It's not fair to either one of those. But that's just the nature of the game there. We were up 7-0 at halftime, and not really concerned, but thinking, man, what's going on here? But then, Marcus Goree, 89-yard kick return. We score, kick off to them, hold them, punt return. Here goes Boo for 75 yards. Yeah. 2 touchdowns in 2 or 3 minutes, and we hadn't touched the ball on offense yet. Yeah. That's what special teams can do for you, because, you know, they're a third of the game, and people just overlook special teams sometimes and don't realize how important and vital they are to success.
Yeah, and going back to being 7-0 at half, I take the blame on that again because really the first drive, we should have kicked a field goal. You know, we're in field goal range. The second drive, we get, I think, to the 4-yard line and fumble.
Yeah.
So that's 10 points that we feel like we probably should have had on the board, and then it's 17-0 at half. But, yeah, coming out at halftime, the kickoff return by Marcus, you know, we've not talked a whole lot about him this year, and I almost feel bad. But on defense, now this week they'll probably go right at him and light him up, but on defense, there's very seldom times that people are trying to attack him.
Right.
So, you know, his stats are not what they probably should be, as good of a player he is, but it was awesome for him to get that opening kickoff to kind of ignite us, and then, of course, the defense goes out, get a stop, we get a punt, and then Boo punt returns. So I'd say they probably regretted punting that one to Boo and kicking to Marcus as well. So we were fortunate that those guys did that.
Well, a lot of folks seen Marcus on TV when the camera's panning around the UT game Saturday. He was in the crowd shot there, and of course he's bound for UT in case folks don't know that, along with Boo.
Yep.
And you got Tito now's committed to Northwestern.
Mm-hmm.
You got Caleb is committed to Miami of Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, I think those guys are all going to do really, really good there. It's talking about kicking, things like that. We didn't punt again this game. I looked at, I think we punted 8 times at 8 games, which is just really unbelievable, which tells you, hey, our offense is moving the ball, and we're getting great field position. If we don't score, and we had a couple of 4th and shorts, like I said, could have gone for a field goal, maybe if you wanted to there. But when you're not punting the ball, that tells you, hey, we're taking control of the game. We're taking a field position and all that. And you look on the other hand, the other team's punting 4 or 5 times, usually per game. But good, really, offense show again. We're going to have a challenge against Friday night, of course, and with Cleveland, which will be a region game for us on the road. And that game is going to be played on Friday night. It's not going to be moved either night.
Yeah, there was some talk about it because of the weather. But yeah, long story short, again, it's Friday night.
Yeah, good. That's what they want to keep there. We'll take a break here for LB Appliance. We'll be back in just a minute and talk about the upcoming game with those Blue Raiders across town now when we return. Back to the Damon Floyd Coach Show here on Talk 101.3 The Buzz, brought to you by Ownbey Appliance each and every week. And Coach, there's just nothing else to be said about Bradley Cleveland. I mean, it's been everything we've said every year is the same thing. It's a big, big game. We know that. This one probably has a lot more significance, things riding on it, because it is a region game. We're unbeaten in the region. Bearden 2 weeks out is unbeaten in the region. Cleveland is going to be in the playoffs. They're trying to fight for 3rd or 4th or even 2nd, possibly, if some things happen. I don't think it can work that way, but do the kids, I guess they know what this game means, but is the attitude this week in practice different than it was last week with Red Bank coming up, or?
Well, so obviously we're filming this on a Tuesday,
Right.
And still got to practice today. Yesterday, you know, Mondays for us are, to be quite honest, they're just kind of slow. There's a lot of installs and going over scouting reports, so it's hard to go out there and you just practice at a high tempo. So today and tomorrow, Wednesday's practice, hopefully it picks up a little bit, because actually when I came in the locker room yesterday after practice, you know, I'm like, man, that's just not a good practice. But then I looked down and we were out there for 3.5 hours.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so I think our kids know what's at stake, and if you don't, then you're probably not playing in the game because you don't have a clue what's going on. So it's Bradley Cleveland. If I've got to get them ready to go this week, then it's too late.
Yeah,
it's too late.
Right.
I'm sure they've thought about this, and we talk about this just like Cleveland does. I'm sure in the off season, this is a game you circle. It's a big rivalry game. There is no secret about it, and this one's the most important game on our schedule every year. Mm-hmm. To me, it really doesn't matter what your record is, and all the other games, but it does matter your record versus Cleveland.
Yeah, it sure does there. I've not seen Cleveland at all this year. What can you tell us from watching them on film? What are they going to try to do when we're on defense? I know they started the year saying, hey, we'll be the fastest team out there, like Heupel, fastest team on turf or something they call that. That was their thing there. What do you see when you see them? L.J. Adams is quarterback, I guess.
Yeah, I see the fastest team on turf right now because they go extremely fast and they give defenses fits trying to line up. When you do that, you got to limit your calls defensively. You can't go out there and do a bunch of different stuff. It's got to be kind of simple, and because the biggest thing is you got to line up right. And if you don't line up right, they do a really good job of taking advantage of how you line up. And then to be able to do that, they have extremely talented players. This is no doubt the fastest team we're going to see. Not just like getting a playoff. Their personnel is very fast.
Okay.
I think LJ's done an unbelievable job. He is a dual threat. You can't let him escape the pocket and have a lot of room, but you can't just all fly to him either because he does a really good job throwing on the run.
Yeah.
And he's got plenty of guys that can throw it to. I think his offensive line is very aggressive. They get after it. They enjoy playing the game, and then defensively, they're a lot like us. They can play man-to-man. They load the box, and a lot of teams have not had success throwing it. With a loaded box, you don't have success running it. So I think you're going to see two teams that are probably very similar to each other. Like all games we talked about in the past, we have got to limit our penalties. And, I don't think there's a game this year where we've won the turnover battle. We've been even on some, but we've not won the turnover battle. So we need to win the turnover battle. We cannot afford to lose turnover battle. And then, of course, like we talked about earlier, Skylar field position.
Well, with the threat of rain Friday night, would that change how you look at the game or what you would try to do for the Bears on offense? Or
I don't think it can. I think the good thing, well, and it's good for them too, so it's not an advantage for either one of us, is you can change the ball all the time. It's turf, so it's not like it used to be. Well, even last Friday, that field condition was not what we're used to playing on.
Right.
It was grass, obviously. It got a little bit muddy. The ball's a little bit more wet when it's on the grass. So I think them being on turf, I don't think you change anything. You gotta go play.
And we sure didn't wear white pants last Friday night either, did we?
No, we did not wear white, and we're still trying to clean those uniforms.
I was looking ahead. Every game in our region is a dogfight because of the nature of the competition there. And the one thing I see is really improving is Maryville, and they handled Cleveland last week pretty good. I haven't seen that film.
You can't go off the Maryville we saw.
That's right.
I mean, I hate to say it, but Maryville's not the same team then. They had a lot of guys that was a lot of them, their first times playing on Friday nights.
Yep.
They've kind of figured it out. They've got a new quarterback since we played. He's just a freshman, but he's really good.
Yep.
So you can throw that out the window. That doesn't mean anything. Those scores early, and just like Maryville's changed, you got to give Cleveland credit because you got to remember they're a whole new coaching staff. Mm-hmm. Well, when they got beat by Walker Valley and some of the games they were playing early, they were still figuring some things out too.
Yep.
I've been here for 18 years, and believe it or not, we're still figuring things out too about your team. So it takes time, but I think they've done a really good job of adjusting to their personnel and what they need to do to be successful. And Cleveland's not the same team we'll see this week that they were probably 4 weeks ago. And they played two tough opponents. Bearden and Maryville are two of the top teams in the state. So that goes out the window, and to me, it's 0-0. It's Bradley Cleveland. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Well, you're 8-0 start, still ranked number 1 in the state this week. I think it's the 7th or 8th week in a row, and that's the longest ever streak we've had being ranked number 1. Getting a lot of attention, and we've talked about this a little bit before. You get a lot of emails, you get a lot of texts, you get a lot of phone calls, because you've got guys that are committed, but there's schools out there trying to flip them, as they always say, right up to signing day. And I've talked to you, and you say, well, it's not a pain, but I'm busy. But if people are not calling you, you're probably losing. You have nobody wants.
Yeah.
And so it's a good kind of problem,
The only way I can put it is it is very busy.
Yes.
And there's a lot of college coaches that are trying to get a hold of a lot of our players. And then you add the fact that Bradley Cleveland Week, you know, for any high school coach, it's changed a lot, the media obligations.
Yeah.
And this week's totally different with what's on the line, two really good teams, but then also what we got to do media-wise. I can say today my day's pretty much packed, and there's some I just can't make. So Coach Standiford's going to have to fill in. Our assistant head coach, Brett Stanford, he'll fill in on some of those because you just don't have enough time in the day.
Yeah.
And it's just a busy time. But, you know, it is what it is, and we'll get through it and hopefully play Good Friday.
Well, one more question. I know you're really busy today. We're recording this Tuesday morning. What a crowd we had there Friday night for a fall break. We had a bigger crowd than Red Bank
Yeah.
did, and that really makes, looking across there and seeing the vista, that makes you feel good. And you guys stand right in front of those, and it's nice to have that support.
You know, the funny thing Friday was we're looking obviously the other way. So, and I don't know how much our players turn around. You know, if I'm coming off the field, maybe on a timeout or something, I notice that.
Yeah.
But when you're looking across, and there was nobody on the other side, it was a little rough. But yeah, our crowd's always showed up.
Yeah.
You know, on home games, I know it's really awesome. And then I know Friday night's going to be probably packed on both sides.
So I guarantee you we'll be there. Coach, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks again, as always, for our show here this week on Talking About 1.3, brought to you by Ownbey Appliances. We'll wrap it up for now. Until next week, so long for now. God bless, and go Bears.